Kaitlyn Carter balanced precariously on a wooden chair, trying to hang a banner that read, "Welcome Baby," across her sister's living room. The pale blue lettering kept drooping on one side, and she cursed under her breath as the tape refused to stick to the textured wall. She was so absorbed in her task that she didn't notice someone had entered the room until a deep voice broke her concentration. "Need some help with that. Looks like you could use someone taller." Startled, Kaitlyn turned her head too quickly and lost her balance. The chair wobbled, and before she could steady herself, she was falling. In an instant, strong arms caught her mid-descent, and she found herself looking up into the most striking green eyes she'd ever seen. "I guess that's a yes," the stranger said with a gentle smile, setting her carefully on her feet. Kaitlyn brushed a strand of auburn hair from her face, feeling her cheeks flush. "Thanks for the save. My sister would have killed me if I'd knocked over her vintage vase collection on my way down." She extended her hand. "I'm Kaitlyn Carter, Gabriel Zeller," he replied, his handshake firm but warm. "I work with Ryan, your brother-in-law." "Oh, you're Ryan's friend from work. He mentioned someone might be coming early to help set up." Kaitlyn gave him an appraising look. Gabriel was tall with broad shoulders, dressed in a simple blue button-down shirt and jeans that somehow looked expensive despite their casual appearance. His dark hair was neatly trimmed, and there was something reserved in his manner that intrigued her. "That's me, the early arrival." He picked up the banner she dropped. "Let me help with this. I'm a bit taller than that wobbly chair." As Gabriel easily reached up to secure the banner, Kaitlyn couldn't help but notice how his shirt stretched across his back. "So, what department do you work in with Ryan at the hospital?" "I'm not actually hospital staff. I'm with the Zeller Foundation. We fund the pediatric wing where Ryan works." "Foundation work, that's interesting," Kaitlyn replied, handing him more decorative tape. "I'm just a kindergarten teacher, not quite as glamorous as charity work." Gabriel's smile deepened. "Teachers shape the future. I'd say that's pretty important." Something about his genuine tone made Kaitlyn's heart skip. Before she could respond, her sister Melissa waddled into the room, her 8-month pregnant belly leading the way. "Oh good, you've met Gabe." Melissa exclaimed, hugging her sister. "He's the reason Ryan got that fellowship last year." She turned to Gabriel. "Thank you for coming early. Ryan said you might not make it at all with your schedule." "Wouldn't miss it," Gabriel replied simply. As the three of them continued with decorations, Kaitlyn found herself stealing glances at the quiet man who seemed content to stay in the background, efficiently helping with whatever was needed without drawing attention to himself. There was something refreshing about his lack of pretension. The baby shower filled up quickly with Melissa's friends, hospital colleagues, and family members. Gabriel blended into the background, occasionally chatting with Ryan but mostly observing from a corner with a polite smile. During a particularly raucous game involving guessing the contents of diapers smeared with different melted chocolate bars, Kaitlyn noticed Gabriel slip outside onto the patio. Grabbing 2 plates of cake, she followed him. "Not a fan of the dirty diaper game?" she asked, offering him a plate. Gabriel accepted the cake with a grateful smile. "I was just getting some air. It's a bit crowded in there. Not much of a party person, not really," he admitted. "Large groups aren't my thing. Yet you run a foundation. Don't you have to attend galas and fundraisers?" Gabriel took a bite of cake before answering. "Necessary evil, but I prefer the actual work, visiting hospitals, meeting families, reviewing programs. The parts that make a difference." Kaitlyn leaned against the railing beside him. "How does someone get into that line of work?" A shadow passed over his face. "My younger brother had leukemia when we were kids. He spent a lot of time in hospitals. After he recovered, my family wanted to help other children." "That's really admirable," Kaitlyn said softly. Gabriel changed the subject. "Ryan mentioned you're taking your class on a field trip to the aquarium next month." "Yes, though I'm not sure it's happening anymore. Budget cuts," she sighed. 25 disappointed 5-year-olds is not something I'm looking forward to." Gabriel seemed to consider this for a moment. "The foundation sponsors educational programs sometimes. I could look into it if you'd like." "Really? That would be amazing." Kaitlyn beamed at him. "The kids have been talking about it for weeks." They continued chatting, losing track of time until Melissa poked her head outside. There you are. We're opening gifts, Caitlin. You're supposed to be writing down who gave what. As Caitlin followed her sister inside, she glanced back at Gabriel. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read, but it sent a pleasant warmth through her chest. The gift opening took over an hour, and Caitlin dutifully recorded each present. When it came time for Gabriel's gift, Ryan opened a simple envelope and his eyes widened. "Gabe, this is too much," Ryan said, looking up at his friend. Gabriel shrugged. "Every kid deserves the best start." Ryan turned to the group. "Gabe has set up a college fund for the baby. It's incredibly generous." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and Caitlin saw her sister wipe away tears. She stared at Gabriel with new curiosity. That kind of gift suggested more resources than she'd assumed from his understated appearance. As the party wound down and guests began to leave, Gabriel approached Caitlin. "It was nice meeting you," he said, his voice soft but direct. "I enjoyed our conversation." "Me too," Caitlin replied. "And thanks again for offering to help with the field trip." "Actually," Gabriel hesitated, then continued more confidently, "I have tickets to the aquarium's new exhibit opening this Friday. Would you like to go? It might help you plan for your class trip." Caitlin felt a flutter of excitement. "I'd love to." They exchanged numbers, and Gabriel left with a warm smile that stayed with Caitlin long after he was gone. "He's single, you know," Melissa said, appearing beside Caitlin as she watched Gabriel's car, a modest sedan, not what she'd expected, pull away. "Who, Gabriel? We just met." "We're just going to the aquarium to plan my class trip." Melissa snorted. "Sure, that's why he couldn't take his eyes off you all afternoon." She rubbed her belly thoughtfully. "You know, Ryan says he never accepts social invitations. Ever. He's turned down dinner at our place at least a dozen times." "He seems nice," Caitlin said neutrally, though her pulse quickened. "Nice," Melissa laughed. "That's like calling the ocean wet. Gabe's more than nice. He's brilliant, kind, and what?" Melissa gave her a look. "You really don't know who he is, do you?" Ryan's colleague who works at a foundation. Caitlin shrugged. "Oh, Caitlin," Melissa shook her head with amusement. "Gabriel Zeller doesn't just work at the foundation. He founded it with his own money, lots of it." Caitlin blinked. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that quiet guy who just asked you out is worth millions. Maybe more. He revolutionized water filtration systems in developing countries or something. Ryan says he sold his patents to some huge corporation a few years ago for an absolute fortune." Caitlin thought back to their conversation, how Gabriel had talked about his work, his brother, how attentively he'd listened to her stories about teaching. Not once had he mentioned his success or wealth. "Huh," was all she could manage. "Just huh," Melissa teased. "It doesn't matter," Caitlin said honestly. "I liked him before I knew that." Friday arrived, and Caitlin spent more time than usual choosing her outfit, settling on a casual green dress that brought out her eyes. When Gabriel picked her up in his surprisingly modest car, she found herself studying him with new awareness. "You look beautiful," he said simply as she got in. "Thanks. You clean up pretty well yourself." He wore dark jeans and a light sweater that looked casually elegant. No flashy watch or designer labels screaming for attention. The aquarium was closed to the public for the special preview event, but Gabriel was greeted by name at the entrance. They were given private access to exhibits and introduced to marine biologists who explained the educational programs available for schools. "This is incredible," Caitlin said as they stood in the underwater tunnel, surrounded by swirling schools of tropical fish. "The kids are going to love this." "I took the liberty of speaking with the education department," Gabriel said. "Your class visit has been approved as part of the Foundation's outreach program. They'll provide transportation and a specialized program." Caitlin turned to him in surprise. "You did that, just like that." Gabriel looked slightly embarrassed. "It wasn't difficult. The Foundation has an ongoing relationship with the aquarium." "Thank you, that's incredibly thoughtful." Caitlin hesitated, then added, "My sister told me a bit about you after you left, about your company and the Foundation." Gabriel tensed visibly. I should have mentioned it myself." "Why didn't you?" He looked up at the fish swimming overhead. "People treat you differently when they know. Their perception changes." And you didn't want my perception of you to change, Kaitlyn asked softly. I wanted you to see me, not my bank account. His green eyes met hers, unguarded and honest. Something shifted between them in that moment. Kaitlyn reached for his hand and squeezed it gently. I see you, Gabriel. They continued through the exhibit, their hands remaining linked. Over dinner at a small restaurant overlooking the water, Gabriel told her about growing up with a sick brother, how it had shaped his interest in water purification technology, which eventually led to his patents. Clean water prevents so many illnesses, he explained passionately. When my brother was sick, I promised myself I'd find ways to keep other kids healthy. It just turned out to be more successful than I ever imagined. So now you run the foundation full-time, Gabriel nodded. I could have kept developing new technologies, but the foundation lets me see the direct impact. It's more meaningful. Is that why you live so? Normally, Kaitlyn asked, thinking of his car and unassuming clothes. Gabriel laughed. You mean why don't I have a mansion and a sports car? I grew up middle class. Those things never mattered to me. He paused. I have a nice home outside the city. It's comfortable but not extravagant. I'd rather use the money where it makes a difference. By the end of the night, when Gabriel walked her to her apartment door, Kaitlyn felt like she'd known him for years rather than days. I had a wonderful time, she said, suddenly shy. Me too. Gabriel's voice was soft. He hesitated, then leaned down and placed a gentle kiss on her cheek. Would you like to have dinner again sometime? I'd like that very much. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a comfortable rhythm of dates. Gabriel took her to art exhibits, hiking trails, and small neighborhood restaurants where the owners greeted him by name. He showed up for her kindergarten class's aquarium trip, quietly helping with the children and watching with obvious admiration as Kaitlyn managed her excited students. You're amazing with them, he told her afterward as they watched the last child being picked up. They adore you. They're good kids, Kaitlyn said, but she glowed under his praise. A month into their relationship, Gabriel invited her to his home for the first time. Kaitlyn had been curious but hadn't pressed. When they pulled up to a modern house nestled among trees with a view of the lake, she understood why he described it as comfortable but not extravagant. It was beautiful but understated, with clean lines and warm wood accents. This is gorgeous, she said as he gave her a tour. The house was spacious but not ostentatious, with floor-to-ceiling windows that brought nature inside. It's probably my one indulgence, Gabriel admitted. I designed it myself. I wanted a peaceful space. In the living room, Kaitlyn noticed photographs of Gabriel with children in hospital gowns, Gabriel at water pump installations in rural villages, and family photos including a young man who looked similar to Gabriel. Is that your brother? She asked, pointing to the photo. Yes, that's James. He lives in Colorado now with his wife and daughter. We're close. As they prepared dinner together in his kitchen, Kaitlyn found herself thinking about how different Gabriel was from anyone she'd dated before. Despite his wealth, he valued simplicity and purpose over status. His kindness extended beyond grand gestures to small, thoughtful acts, remembering how she liked her coffee, sending her funny texts about his day, listening intently when she talked about her students. After dinner, they sat on his deck overlooking the lake, wrapped in a comfortable silence as the sun set. I have to go to Ghana next month, Gabriel said suddenly. We're opening a new water treatment facility. I'll be gone for about 2 weeks. That sounds important, Kaitlyn replied, trying to hide her disappointment at the thought of not seeing him. Gabriel turned to face her. I was wondering if you might consider coming with me. Your spring break starts that week, doesn't it? You could see the foundation's work firsthand. Kaitlyn stared at him. You want me to come to Africa with you? Only if you want to, he added quickly. I know it's a big ask, but I'd love to share that part of my life with you. The sincerity in his eyes took her breath away. I'd love to go, she said without hesitation. Gabriel's face lit up and he pulled her close, kissing her deeply for the first time. When they broke apart, both slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. I think I'm falling in love with you, Kaitlyn Carter, he whispered, her heart soared. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Gabriel Zeller. As their relationship deepened, Caitlin discovered more layers to the quiet millionaire who'd caught her when she fell at her sister's baby shower. Gabriel had his moody moments, times when he retreated into silence when facing challenges with his foundation work. But he always communicated, always returned to her with renewed appreciation for her steadying presence. The trip to Ghana transformed their relationship. Caitlin witnessed firsthand the impact of Gabriel's work as they visited villages receiving clean water for the first time. She watched children playing around new wells, mothers no longer having to walk miles for contaminated water. "This is what matters," Gabriel told her one evening as they sat outside their modest lodgings. "Not the money itself, but what it can do." Caitlin fell even deeper in love watching Gabriel interact with local families, seeing how he remembered names, asked thoughtful questions, and treated everyone with equal respect. It was the same quality that had first drawn her to him, his genuine interest in others. On their last night in Ghana, under a blanket of stars unlike any Caitlin had ever seen, Gabriel turned to her. "I never expected to find someone who would understand this part of me," he said softly. "Someone who sees value in the same things I do." "I never expected to fall in love at my sister's baby shower," Caitlin replied with a smile. "Especially not with the quiet guy hanging decorations." Gabriel laughed, then grew serious. "When I'm with you, I feel like my best self. The money, the foundation, they're important, but they're not what defines me. With you, I'm just Gabriel." "And that's exactly who I love," Caitlin assured him. "Just Gabriel." When they returned home, their relationship shifted into a deeper commitment. Gabriel began attending family dinners at Melissa's house, where baby Noah had arrived and was thriving. Caitlin spent most weekends at Gabriel's lake house, where they established domestic routines that felt natural and right. 6 months after they met, Caitlin moved in with Gabriel. Her kindergarten class visited the lake house for a nature day, delighting Gabriel with their enthusiasm for the outdoors classroom he helped create on his property. "You're a natural with kids," Caitlin observed as they watched the last school bus pull away. "Have you ever thought about having your own?" Gabriel's expression softened. "I have, more recently than ever before." He pulled her close. "What about you?" "Definitely," she replied. "Though I'd want to be married first." Gabriel's eyes sparkled. "Is that so?" The following weekend, Gabriel suggested a picnic by the lake. As they walked along the shore, Caitlin noticed a small rowboat decorated with flowers anchored near the dock. "What's that?" she asked. Gabriel smiled mysteriously. "Let's find out." He helped her into the boat and rowed them to the middle of the lake, where the water was crystal clear and still. "Remember when we met and you fell?" Gabriel asked, setting the oars aside. "How could I forget? You caught me." "I think I was the one who fell that day," he said softly. Completely and irrevocably. Gabriel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden box. "Caitlin Carter, you've shown me what truly matters in life, not success or wealth, but connection, purpose, and love." He opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring with a single diamond. "Would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife?" Tears welled in Caitlin's eyes. "Yes," she whispered, then laughed joyfully. "Yes." Gabriel slipped the ring onto her finger, then kissed her with such tenderness that the boat rocked gently beneath them. "I love you," he murmured against her lips. "Every wonderful, caring, beautiful part of you." "And I love you," Caitlin replied. "My quiet millionaire with the biggest heart I've ever known." They married the following spring in a ceremony by the lake, with Melissa's son Noah serving as the world's youngest ring bearer in Gabriel's brother James's arms. Caitlin wore a simple white dress that caught the breeze as she walked toward Gabriel, who waited for her with eyes full of promise. Instead of lavish gifts, they asked guests to contribute to a new foundation initiative providing educational resources to underfunded schools, a project that combined both their passions. 2 years later, they welcomed twins, a boy and girl they named James and Melissa, after their siblings. Gabriel cut back on international travel to be present for his family, establishing a home office where he could continue his foundation work while being available for midnight feedings and first steps. Caitlin continued teaching part-time, finding fulfillment in both her classroom and in collaborating with Gabriel on educational initiatives through his foundation. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the spot on the lake where Gabriel had proposed. "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't offered to help with that banner?" Gabriel asked as they watched the sunset from their boat. Kaitlyn smiled, leaning against his chest. "Or if I hadn't fallen off that chair?" "Best fall of my life," Gabriel murmured into her hair. "I never expected to find everything I didn't know I was looking for at a baby shower. And I never expected the quiet friend to change my life completely," Kaitlyn replied, turning to kiss him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the lake in gold and crimson, Kaitlyn reflected on their journey. From that first meeting where she knew nothing about the reserved man who caught her fall, to now partners in love, purpose, and parenthood. Gabriel had once worried that his wealth would change how she saw him. But what had truly changed her perception was witnessing how he used that privilege not for status or power, but to lift others, to create positive change, to build a meaningful life. "What are you thinking about?" Gabriel asked, breaking her reverie. "Just how lucky I am that I fell for you," Kaitlyn answered with a smile. In every possible way, Gabriel pulled her closer, his arms strong and sure around her. "The feeling is entirely mutual, Mrs. Zeller, entirely mutual." As they rowed back to shore, where their children waited with Melissa and her family for an anniversary celebration, Kaitlyn knew that some falls were actually the beginning of flight toward love, toward purpose, toward the life you were meant to live all along.